Welcome to 4,000 and counting. I'm Watty, that is Mark, and today we are joined by Hands Daniel Amesbury, fresh on his recent Fort Wayne debut. Diamond Hands, welcome to 4,000 and counting, buddy. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, fellas.
Just saying off air there, you seem to you've taken the hockey world by storm a little bit this last week and a bit here. What way to make a debut? You cut a promo on the off ice. The chick asked, what a great question. How'd you get your name? And then, wow, there you go. You're just brilliant first fight. And I'm going to go to the clip that doesn't seem to be getting shared. Brilliant hit on your first shift.
Yeah, it was, I mean, I started the game. That hit was, I think, 16 seconds into the game, and you couldn't have drawn it up better. You couldn't have scripted it better the way it happened. So
it was a good
all the stars aligned.
How nice was it to make a good, hard, clean body check and not get a 16-game sussy shoved up your ass?
Yeah, it was great. Well, I was gonna be honest. That exact same hit probably would have got me a 15-gamer in the Federal League, just because just hitting guys that hard. That's just how that league operates. But it was refreshing to be able to hit someone hard and it be clean and not get a penalty for it. And yeah, it was good. It's been a really great transition to the East Coast.
So a similar play happened in the game here this week, and the kid's been given 8 games for it. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I get like when it's a dirty hit, if it's like an elbow to the head or it's too late or whatever. Like obviously, there's a time and a place to suspend a guy and like teach him a hard lesson. But if it's a clean check and clean contact, and he's got the puck, like I don't know, man. You're almost doing a disservice to the kids that are getting hit because they're getting protected by these kids are coming up in junior, and that's what's happening now in pro. These kids are coming up junior, no one's finishing their checks, and when they do, they're getting suspended, and then they go to the NHL or wherever pro, and all of a sudden they run into a guy that played, has been playing for 10 years since there was it was more physical, and then they end up, coming around with their head down because they're not used to getting hit. So
you run into Tom Wilson, you're gonna fucking know about it as well. Like,
fuck yeah. Exactly.
There's a few boys in that league that do still like to bump the body. So I think we're trying to take the head contact out of the game. I'm fine with that. I have literally, that's a great idea. We don't want concussion issues. We don't want CTE issues. We don't want any of that shit. Yeah. But good, clean, hard body checks. They have been part of hockey since the dawn of time. Stop fucking with it, please.
Yeah, it's a weird situation because like when I grew up playing and just in general, like my generation, when I when I was a kid and we were taught and you started learning how to hit and stuff, it was the guy getting hit. It's like the player's responsibility to have his head up. Yep. You know what I mean? Like if you catch a guy with his head down, it's on the guy who you hit. He should have had his head up, and that was how everybody was coached, and that's kind of how everybody was. But now it's different. It's kind of, the pendulum has swung to the point now it's almost the guy who's delivering the hit's responsibility to make sure the guy sees you. So it's a little different now, right? We were always told keep your head up, and now these guys are kind of getting used to being able to play with their head down, and then until they can't anymore.
Well, these scars here are from being 15 years old, cutting into the middle with my fucking head up my ass. And the thing is, the guy that split me for the stitches, it was my boy on the other team. He was like, get your head up, prick. Get your head up, prick. I was like, fucker, he got me. It was a good, clean, hard body check. I cut the middle of the ice with my head up my ass, and he let me know about it. But guess what? The next year when I go into pro, that doesn't happen again.
You're ready.
I'm not doing that again. That hurt. That shit hurt a lot.
It's a hard lesson, and I feel like anybody who's played the game, I mean, most people that have played the game have been checked before and been caught with their head down, and it is a hard lesson, but it's a necessary one, especially if you're going to step up to the pro level.
Well, you watch the kids now, and this is not all. I don't want to tar them all with the same brush, but they'll watch their pass. They pass, and they're like, "Oh, that was such a sick sauce." Heads up, buddy. Like, someone's finishing their body check on you at some point, and you're gonna feel it.
I mean, you see it here, like when I watch like junior, and this isn't all junior, but like a lot of the junior I was watching, just you don't see as much guys finishing check. It's like guys are forechecking, and they're kind of they come down, and all they got to do is finish their check, or the D-man makes a pass, boom, finish your check, take them out of the play. But instead, these guys are just swinging their stick and kind of trying to poke check, and then they just continue on. So these guys aren't used to it. The guys aren't used to running into people that finish every single check. And then, like, what happened last game, you got somebody cutting around behind the net with their head down. I mean, it happens to everybody, you said it's happened to you, it's happened to me. And it is what it is, man. It's a part of the game. But yeah, I feel like some of these younger guys that have come up not getting hit as much, not used to it, and then they'll just run into an old school guy that's going to finish all his checks, and they can end up getting in a little bit of trouble.
Well, Mark, out in Brunel, like we watched the game in the Czech top league this year. Boys finish their hits. Like if you get the park and you pass it off, somebody's gonna fucking hit you like every shift. Like
Wow.
it's intense. Like I went to a couple of well, I've been to like 4 DEL games in Germany this year. So
Nice.
Like guys are finishing body checks. So
Yeah.
even if these kids are going to come out of junior and not make it to the show or not make it to the A, they might come out and play in these leagues. You're going to have to be ready to take a body check.
Surprise.
Yeah, for a big surprise. You got a lot of guys. Exactly. Mark, how many guys are like recently from the show have just joined that Czech league?
Well, there's loads lined up.
And in future, yeah, like guys coming. It's a deep league, and
Cassian's there at the moment.
Yeah, and if he catches you in the fucking train tracks, you're gonna know about it.
Yeah, exactly. No kidding.
Here's a question that I'd like to ask you. Are you disappointed that you didn't grow up in a little bit of a different era here? There's a few, don't get me wrong, there's a few fucking animals, a few tough guys right now, but are you disappointed you weren't in that era maybe 10, 15 years ago?
10 years earlier would have been probably ideal for me. Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it before. Yeah, you can't really change that stuff, but yeah, I've said it since I've had people telling me that since I was, early 20s, late teens. Yeah, if I would have been born maybe 10 or 15 years earlier, it would have helped me out for sure.
Right in your wheelhouse
Yeah, exactly.
Hockey has changed, and I'm obviously I'm going to be biased here because it was the way I played as well, but we need guys like that. I'm sorry, like that'll never go away. You ask any guy that's in the fucking locker room, do you like having a guy that's tough on your team?
Oh yeah.
They'll all say yes. And do you know who else will say yes? If you happen to have another tough guy on the team, do you know how nice it is if there's 2 or 3 of you and you don't have to be the guy all the time. Like
take a little weight off your shoulders.
Like if you bust your hand on Saturday and you go again Sunday, that there's 2 or 3 other guys I got you tonight. Like I got you tonight, you got a week to heal up and then you go again. But now you'll be lucky if half the teams have a guy that can do it properly.
Yeah, I mean, I truly think the pendulum's starting to swing again. Like it's starting to come back, and it seems like I don't know how far it'll come back, but it's starting to swing a little bit, I think. And I mean, it's an ebb and a flow, but I do see it coming back. I see more guys getting signed, like in the coast, and there's some tough guys floating around for sure. Not as many as there was in the Central League, 10 years ago, but there's still some guys, so it's good to see.
Well, who was it this week? Howe and Gallant had a good tilt.
Howe and Gallant.
Oh
yeah, Howe and Gallant. Yeah, no, those are 2 tough boys. I actually played with Gallant in Columbus.
He's had some career, right? Like he's made a real good go of it, and he's always been in amongst it, take on all comers, tough as a fucking night in jail.
Yeah, and he's not a huge guy either, right? No. Like I don't know what he weighs, but he can't be that big.
Maybe 210.
So, yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah, and how's a big boy? How's a big boy? So,
obviously there was a tough guy that was playing out here this year. I think his first name's Scott. Mark Allen. Scott Allen from Dundee, big defenseman. He's now just joined back in the Coast. Am I right in thinking his name's Scott, Mark?
You've lost me there.
Right, Dundee had a guy this year who's just left to go back to the Coast, the tough guy. Is it Scott Allen?
Allen, he's in my division.
Yeah, I was going to say, he signed.
He went to Cincinnati, so we'll be playing him lots, I think. Or at least a few more times. Sean Allen.
Oh, Sean Allen. Sean Allen. Yeah, because all the fans over here that didn't support his team fucking hated him. We're giving it to him every week. Yeah. He's goon, he's this. But evidently, he's pretty tough. He didn't have many challenges over here, but I imagine with your success, he's going to be coming knocking on your door, I would have thought, or vice versa.
I'm sure, yeah. I'm sure.
Love it.
I'm open.
That's what we love to hear. I love that.
Yeah.
I miss it so bad. Like, do you know, like, if you ever asked, like, do you miss playing? I think Brad May said it on a podcast last week. He's like, I miss fighting. He's like, I can't just grab a guy in the grocery store, right? Like,
Yeah.
he said the outlet, and I agree. It's the one thing that I've found, like, post career, the outlet is not there. That outlet's so different from anything else that I can experience.
Yeah, it's crazy when you really think about it that you're allowed to, like, it's like this is a thing, you know, if you really think about it, it's like it's wild, you know, and it is cool. It's a good outlet, and it's like it's so unique, you know, like there's obviously you're not doing it in any other sports. And you know, like I did it in box lacrosse. I don't know if you ever seen any of those fights, but
Yeah, I have.
box
Yeah,
lacrosse is you're allowed to fight in box lacrosse. It's not a very big sport, not super big. But those fights are wild because you're on your feet and you're still attached to the guy.
Yeah,
You
you've got the
jerseys.
guy strung
So
out.
it's yeah, that's a wild fighting too. But yeah,
And that some of those boys get out of that gitch pretty quick as well in that
Yeah.
box lacrosse, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden he has nothing on and you're fucked.
I've had a couple. I had one actually. Oh, it had to be. I don't know. It must have been close to 10 years ago now, maybe like 7 or 8 years ago. But I had one where my whole top half came off, so I was shirtless, and then the other guy was shirtless, and we just bare knuckle boxed at center, and it was just like a straight up. And I never had any boxing experience back then either, so I just looked like such a meathead. But I was moving my head, and it was, yeah, it was fun though.
Yeah, that's a great crazy sport that doesn't get a lot of credit in the UK, because I don't think outside of ice hockey circles people really would follow it, would they, Mark? But obviously,
I love it.
I think because of the crossover and because of the tough guys and because some of the ice guys play box lacrosse, it's always kind of in the news feed. It's in the algorithm. Even even today, I sit and watch the tilt, and those boys fucking go hard.
Oh yeah. There's some tough box lacrosse players out there too. So that was for me a big evolution as a hockey fighter. Was when I retired originally in 2014 from hockey. I went back to Canada. I was playing box lacrosse. So like I literally that was what really sharpened the pencil or sharpened the knife for me, because when I came back to hockey, I was kind of like, oh, this isn't even like I'm on skate. How hard can the guy hit me? I'm on skates, like that's how I kind of tell myself. But I feel like I got really tough in lacrosse. Just they're like street fights. You're on your feet, and then I came back to hockey. I just had so much confidence. So
in between going from box lacrosse, you said having no boxing experience, to actually picking up the boxing gloves. Obviously, we know you've had rough and rowdies and that, but how did you get into boxing initially?
So I always I was the kind of guy people would always be like, oh, you fight, like come to the boxing gym. So I dropped in from time to time, but I started getting into a little bit more like when I had Ice Wars coming up, when I first signed up to do that. That's when I really started boxing. And honestly, for that, I wasn't even really training for boxing. I was training specifically for hockey fighting. So I wasn't doing I wasn't working on any boxing combinations and stuff. It was more, rights and lefts and adding power to my punches and stuff. But when I got to Danbury and AJ has a boxing gym. I don't know if you guys know that, but AJ has a boxing gym. And as soon as I got to Danbury, I started really boxing and really training and sparring and getting really good looks. Lots of pro guys at AJ's gym and stuff. So I was able to spar with some good guys. And I don't really have any real boxing under my belt, on actual amateur bouts or pro bouts yet. Obviously the rough and rowdy, but those are just 1 minute rounds. So it's not it's tough man, it's professional tough man. So it's not really boxing. It's really just you're brawling, you're just swinging for the fence. And
it is a legit brawl, yeah.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's like a street fight rather than an actual boxing match. So I mean, at some point, I definitely like to get some real boxing under my belt with some 3-minute rounds or 2-minute rounds or something like that. But yeah, I love boxing. Is great. I think everybody should do it. I think everybody from every sport should do it because of what it does for your core rotation, and it actually just makes you better at everything. It's just such a transferable skill.
Mark, obviously you're big boxer as a kid. What do you think that, obviously with that being your background, what do you think that does to translate into hockey? Like Daniel said, obviously there's movement and stuff, but there's so many other things.
I don't know. It's technique, really.
Yeah.
I just say it's technique, and you need to. I would say in hockey you switch up more. I mean, you can do that in a ring, but it's going to cost you more. Whereas I think you can sacrifice it more on the ice and just use it to your advantage, because most of the guys you'll come up against are going to struggle as well. I don't know. I just think
no,
you
you're
switch
right.
up more and you
Yeah.
just work on technique. And also you're going to learn to execute your power more. It's going to be more difficult on ice, but I think that when you learn correct technique and that, you're going to minimalize like throwing punches and falling on your ass.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like, I mean, obviously guys aren't, there's some guys are pretty, you know, they'll switch when they box, you know, certain boxers or whatever, but obviously most people don't really. But I feel like in hockey, you have to, like, it's such a necessary escape for certain grappling situations. If you can't switch left in hockey, like if you can't switch to your opposite hand in hockey, like you can get put in a bad spot and there's no real way out of it. So I think it's such a necessary thing. But as far as like the transferable like boxing to other sports, like the thing I'm more referring to is like just like the core rotation, like just learning, when you learn how to like really punch and like really like get your whole body into it, that stuff transfers into every sport, whether it's baseball, swinging a bat, throwing a ball, you know, shooting a puck, like all of those things. It's just like such a good fundamental skill. And I feel like boxing just peels the onion back to like such a raw form of those movements, because it's just like, just the way it is, just how it's just such a like bare bones sport. And it's just, I love it, man. It's so cool. And I really truly think that all athletes should be boxing.
100%. You're coiling, you're throwing punches, you're transferring weight forward, backwards, you're on your toes, you're moving. At the same time, you're trying not to get hit, you're moving your head, you're rotating. Everything you do, like from a biomechanics point of view, will 100% make you a better athlete, whether it be a throwing athlete, a jumping athlete. It literally does not matter. Boxing is one of the best sports on the planet and not only that, even if you're like 60, go hit the bag. It's gonna make you feel good.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
you're gonna get sweat. You're gonna burn some calories. It's a good way of training. Like it's good fun.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's such a fun cardio. Like if you hit the bag, it's like such a good workout, and it's actually fun. It's not like going for a run. It's like, it's not like, you know, you can't get bored of it. It's fun, and it's hard.
Yeah, it's
exhausting.
Yeah. Everyone, anyone that's ever done it will tell you it's tough, and it's good. It's good mentally as well, because when it's tough, you gotta dig in a little bit, and you gotta find some other shit to get you going, and that's fucking what being an athlete's all about. Let's talk about Ice Wars, because like you said, you definitely trained for it. You turned up, you looked in shape, you fought a couple of boys who looked heavy. You probably given up between all three of your fights, probably 150 pounds. I was like 60 on one guy, 80 on another guy.
Oh yeah.
The first tilt, you fought Derek Parker, fucking tough dude.
Oh yeah, Parks is tough. Yeah,
that went the distance. Talk us through that fight.
Yeah, man, Parks is tough. So that was my first, like, obviously I like trained a little bit, but that was my first hockey fight in like 8 years or something, or like it was a while. It was my first time, especially in a fight like that. Like it was a war. It's like 6 fights. You know what I mean? It's not like it's just one fight. That's like 6 fights. And you know, he's an animal. He's strong. He has good shots. Like he tagged me, buzzed me a couple times. But yeah, it was a war, man. Like I got mega respect for him, and I think he came in on late notice too. And the fact me and him got matched up first round was wild. I feel like me and him, if we were on opposite sides of the brackets, we probably would have ended up fighting each other in the finals.
Yeah, that's exactly how. Well, definitely, because you boys put on the best fight of the night. I thought that first fight was the best tilt. It did go to the, like, you know, split decision, and you got dropped, he got dropped, you got dropped, he got dropped, he got dropped. Like it was how I say dropped. This is what I want to find out. Obviously, it's on that synthetic shit, right? The ice.
Yeah. The synthetic.
Yeah. So how many of these ones are actually? Because it's hard to tell. Are they getting dropped, or you dropping the guy, or whatever? Or how much is it because of the ice?
I feel like most, even like on real ice, I feel like most of the time when guys go down, it's more of a slip than guys getting buzzed. Obviously, from time to time, you get buzzed and you're gonna slip, and it's just what it goes. But like, I mean, I got buzzed in the first 2 fights for sure. I know Parker buzzed me once, and then Tippin buzzed me once. But I mean, like, it wasn't, you know, obviously you could tell, like, sometimes it'll just be a flash and you're good. You know, sometimes you'll be right out. But you know, for me, I generally, if I get buzzed, my legs will just give out for a second, and then I can tend to bounce back. You know, depending how bad it is, I guess. But yeah, I think there's a lot of slips, especially on that stuff. But I mean, even if it was on real ice, there would have been a lot of guys going down because it's tiring. Like it's a long hockey fight, so it's, you know, there's being tired, and then you're, you know, obviously you're on ice, or synthetics even harder. But yeah, no, there's lots of slips and stuff like that. But it was the synthetics tough for sure.
I never skated, and once we had to do some like promotion at a Christmas market or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking take 2 strides. I'm like, whoa, this is not the same. I don't know how I fancy having the tilt on it.
When it's brand new, it's not terrible. Like it's way worse when it's like all beat up. Because like the first Ice Wars, like when I got out there, I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. It was really fast. It was like way better than the stuff that I practiced on. And then the second Ice Wars, it was all beat up, and I was like, it was so much slower, and like it wasn't. Yeah, it was weird. So I noticed the first one, it was much better than the second time.
You fought Tippin in the second fight. You finished it with a shot to the nose.
I was going to say that was the bust nose, yeah.
Yeah, busted nose.
Yeah, yeah. He buzzed me. He buzzed me right off the hop in that fight, like right away. And then I went back to my corner, and I had Ken Lacusta in my corner. He's you know, he's gone. He was Mike Tyson's sparring partner for a while, like super legend, Canadian boxer, legendary. So he's a boxer. He didn't really know much about the hockey fighting thing, but he also has a lot of good knowledge, and he was a huge part. Him and Robbie Del Pena were a huge part of me winning that. But I come back into the corner after I got tagged, and he was like, create space. And like, I'm trying to like, you know, I'm thinking like, well, creating space is not boxing. You know, in boxing, you're going to be like sticking your jab, keep them away, you know, keep that space. So I'm thinking like, what does create space mean in hockey? Like, what does create space mean in a hockey fight? And I'm kind of like thinking, so I came back in after I got tagged and buzzed. I got my helmet back on. When I came back in, I was like, okay, I'm going to string them out. And I just, you know, create space the way I heard. What I kind of understood from that was like, okay, let's just grab him on his front shoulder, hold him as far away as I can, just spin away from his power. And I ended up tagging him a couple of times. So, yeah. So
you bust him open pretty good.
Got his nose pretty, yeah.
And on a hockey fight, I don't know, you get tagged on the nose. It's hard to recover from because your eyes go, and then, you know, someone else is still trying to take your fucking head off for the next. Yeah. Especially in that scenario, it could have been potentially another 2 rounds, so to speak, and that would have been a tough go for him. So I think it was a good decision to stop it. Like, it was a right decision. Yeah,
and it was honestly, I was so thankful for that too, because I'm like, oh my god, I knew I had one more. I was like, oh my god, like thank God that was quick. Thankfully that one was quick, because man, it was a grind doing that over and over.
So talk us through adrenaline dump, because on the ice, yeah, you might get in 2 fights in a game. It's probably rare nowadays. But as you say, the fights themselves, especially that first one, it was like 6 fights, because normally there's a referee going to go, right, that's it, boys, get in the box. They're not going to be like, there's still 52 seconds, lads. Like, let's fucking go in there.
15 or 20 seconds, kind of like maybe 30 seconds is like a pretty common length of a fight, you know, not much longer than that. So, so that's another thing like that, you know, getting used to with that. It's like, yeah, of course the adrenaline's it's going to be gone, and you get through it. And when you come back, you always notice it when you go back to your corner. Like I've noticed it with boxing too. When you're walking back to your corner, sometimes you're just like, I am in one, like holy, because there's no adrenaline. You feel like just a normal human now in a ring with somebody that's trying to take your head off. It's a really bizarre, it's totally different feeling when you're coming in for the second round and all that's worn off. So yeah, that was interesting. And it was, you know, you do it over and over, you're doing it multiple times in a night. So it's like, by the time you get to the third fight, you're not even starting with an adrenaline dump. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've noticed, like, as the years went on, like when I was younger, the adrenaline would hit me harder and it wouldn't last as long, because I would obviously be more excited, and I would be, you know, just kind of getting my nut, like kind of. But as I got like a little bit more experienced and like where I'm at now, I feel like I don't get it as heavy, but it lasts longer. Like I utilize it a little bit better, you know? So like, I'm so calm now when I fight. Like when I'm squaring up, I'm not all like I'm not like super excited. I'm just kind of calm. And I feel like it lasts longer because of that now. And I just kind of got that, you know, I'm just kind of a little bit more calm with it. So you can kind of use that adrenaline a little bit longer. Whereas if you get too excited, it'll come and go quick. So
What was your pre-fight routine going into Ice Wars? Were you training on the pads or anything, or were you like relaxing and just winding down a bit?
Like I warmed up and stuff obviously before the first fight, and like, you know, got a little bit of a sweat going and whatnot. But after that, like, you know, after the first fight, once I got the first one out of the way, it was just relax. I had my coach put me in a room, lay me on a couch, put my legs up, and just put some ice on my neck and just turn the lights off. He's just like, I'll be back in 15 minutes. Just breathe. And I just lay there in the silent dark and just stayed calm. I didn't touch my phone that whole day. Didn't even look at my phone that whole day. No distractions, just focus. And yeah, that was about it, man. Like I say, a big warm up for the first one. I did some like pretty crazy like meditations before like the whole event started, and like just tried to get myself in a really good calm state. I was in a gnarly state when I went into that tournament, like the whole weekend even. And like even the day of the fight, I was so calm, man. I was stone cold. It had to be like, I think back now, like I'm not sure if anyone else noticed it, but like looking back now, I'm like, people had to notice like how calm I was, because I'm sure like some of the other guys were feeling anxious, but I think like just the amount of preparation I put into that, and like how bad I wanted it, and how I was just like, I would die. I was willing to die. I was like, I will literally go in there and you're going to have to drag me out of that ring or I'm winning. You know, if I'm not KO'd sleeping, someone's pulling me out of there in a stretcher, or I'm winning. Like I was like, it was crazy. And I think because of the preparation, I didn't have no nerves, because I was just so prepared. I just knew what I was there to do, and I was in a really cool state. It was a very, very special experience for myself, and it really helped me grow as a human, because that was a crazy night, and I learned so much from that event.
You also had to put a performance in when you came out before the tournament and said the trophy was already yours. So you were confident going in. It wasn't like you say, you were in a calm state, but you were also like I can't, what did the sheriff say when he announced it? It was something like he already has his hands on the trophy, and this was before the first round. I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, I think it was like one of my quotes or something. It's like the you know, I've already won the crown, or I'm already the king of the rink, or something like that. But yeah, man, I did a lot. I still do that stuff, man. Like I write, I call it going Bart Simpson. I'll write full pages of like, I am a winner. I am, you know, whatever. I am a champion. I am the winner of Rough and Rowdy. I'm the winner of this. I'll just write down full pages of like whatever it is I'm trying to achieve and believe. And I feel like it just calms me down so much. And eventually I start believing it. And then it just kind of relaxes me. I'm like, oh, I've already won. So I still
call
do
that
that.
positive affirmation or something, can it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. I truly believe in that. I do believe in that heavily, because it's just the way, the state that it can put you into mentally, as well as like just, you know, just I actually just truly believe if you write things down, and it'll happen. As long as you believe it, it'll happen. So
you had a lot
especially
of
especially in the fight game, you know.
Yeah.
Like if you come in, it's like Mike Tyson. Like I don't know if you ever seen the Mike Tyson documentary, or I think he had a movie or something. I remember seeing him say something about like the fight's won before the, you know, at the weigh-in. He knows when it's over. Like he looks at the guy, and the guy knows, the guy's looking at him and doesn't want to make eye contact. The fight's over. It's already done. The energy exchange, once that energy exchange happens, if one guy's like got that fear in him and he's like, I felt that. I know what it feels like. It's, you know what I mean? It's over, and it's such a unique thing, man. It's pretty crazy. Then once you get that, then you're just carrying the ultimate confidence walking in, you know? So
the other thing that is wild about ice hockey fights, and you talk about like having the fear and stuff, there ain't no weight classes out there. So even though there is hypothetical weight classes, if you're the guy and you're 6'1", 210, and their guy's 6'7", 270, then it's go time. Then it's go time. Whereas like in the UFC, there's weight categories for a reason. Like you don't have it, but then on the ice, it's just like, fuck, you're 5'8", this guy's 6'4", let's go.
Yeah, it's funny because they always, in hockey, it's like, if you're like one of the tougher guys, you're a heavyweight. It doesn't matter like what you size you are. You could be 5'9", 180, and if you're banging with the big boys, everyone will just call you a heavyweight.
Yeah, and you're not at all. Even guys like Cam Jansen, like he was 220, 220.
Yeah, I would say
he's fighting
probably my size.
Bugard and guys like Eric Cairns and everybody.
Yeah,
like
the big guy, man, like not taking anything against the big guys, but I always found like guys around my size were those were the guys that I always had a little bit of a bug in the back of my head, because I just feel like you got to be technical. You got to be sound with your technical game and your grappling, and you need to know a lot, you know, whereas you're a big guy, you can get away with stringing guys out and throwing the heavy shots and kind of just fighting one way, you know, whereas like when you're my size or smaller, even, like I feel like you got to be able to switch, you got to be able to grapple, you got to have everything. So I always found like the guys around my size or even smaller tend to be a lot more technical and sometimes can be harder. But I mean, the big guys are their own can of worms. They're their own kind of struggle. But yeah, man, I always found the smaller guys are definitely a little bit harder to twist up for sure.
I'm 5'10", so pretty much everyone was fucking taller than me. So, and again, like you say, I went with the technique route. My dad said to me, I remember like 14, 15, when I was like, you know, fighting in the U19s league and stuff. He said, you want to win fights when you move up? Pro lefts. I was like, okay. And from that day, I just like started learning lefts, and that was the best thing, probably advice hockey career. Fight wise.
You need to be able to switch left. Like if you're a big guy, you can get away with not switching because you can just string guys out. But the problem is if somebody gets your back arm, if somebody grabs your strong arm, like on your elbow, and ties you up, you have to be able to switch left. You have to be able to force that guy to let go of your arm, you know? And I know there's like, I don't know if there's as many guys as there was that were like super technical with the fighting now, like, you know, because I'm a nerd with it, you know, like I know if some guy grabs my back arm, I have 3 different things that I can do that's going to put him in a situation where he's going to have to let go of my arm. And if he doesn't let go of my arm, then he's going to get tagged. So like, you know, I don't know if there's as many guys now that kind of know some of the grappling stuff as you know, maybe 10 years ago. But man, I remember one of my favorite guys to fight. I only fought him twice, but Aaron Bugard. He's one of my favorite guys to fight because we would have such technical fights and there would be so much grappling, and like I'd have him cross grabbed and then he knew it. I knew that he was a good fighter because it's like almost like stand-up jiu-jitsu. Like I would get him tied up in a grapple, and I know that there's basically 1 or 2 ways to respond to get out of it. And I would get him and he would respond right away, and he would do exactly what I would have done. And I'm like, okay, I knew right away as soon as that happened. I'm like, okay, he knows what's up.
This is where it's help now.
most guys, I can get them twisted up and I'll grab them in a way and they don't respond. Then I know right away. I'm like, okay. And then I also know a couple other things I could possibly do, you know, that he's not going to catch on to because he might not be as sound technically. So I'd love to at some point put it out there and share like all my knowledge of the grappling and what I know about it.
Maybe once you retire, bud.
I don't want to do it too soon. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to do it too soon. But I love teaching people. I love showing people because it's like it is one of those things, man. I'm a nerd with it. I love it. Like I've watched so many videos. I've studied so many different fighting styles, and that's why it's fun for me. I think it's because it's really the one thing. Not that it's the only thing, but it's one thing in my life that I am so passionately, like, I love it, man. Like I love, and I don't know if it's just because I got good at it and then, I got good at it. So I became passionate about it because it's like the one thing I'm actually got skill, like this very unique skill. Maybe that's why, but I'm just passionate about it. And I still study fighters. I still know exactly what everybody does. I know every guy in the league. I know what everybody in my league. I know everybody, what guys are doing, you know, definitely know it before I'm playing them. I know what guys to worry about, what guys are a threat, what guys can throw a punch, what guys can't.
How bad is it suck? Dropyourgloves.com's fucking gone.
Oh man, you know what?
That was like my only website that I went on.
I went on a forum one time and I found this guy that had some weird back door to get onto the website. You can
Yeah.
still find it. Have you
Yeah, I've
seen it?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
So
I've
like
got
you
it
can at
saved
least,
in
but
my
man,
thing up here.
what a bummer, man. That was like, that was my library.
Rubber sucks.
That was my Bible,
Yeah.
like
That
straight
was my
up.
library because I was on there and that was, I'm sure you guys are the same way because you guys are passionate about it too. But like, man, I would geek out on there for days. And not only that, it was so cool being able to see like, oh, like right now you'd be able to see everybody in the ECHL, how many fights they have, who they won and who they lost against. Like it was like like no offense to hockeyfights.com. I don't want to step on any toes, but Drop Your Gloves blew them out of the water.
Wasn't even
Oh,
kind
yeah.
wasn't even kind of close.
Yeah, man. Oh, it's amazing. Such a good. It's really too bad that.
I don't know how. I must have had a premonition or something. But downstairs, one day, like I screenshotted all the shit on dropyourgloves.com and printed it
Yeah.
off. So
Really?
I've got my fight cards from like every year, who I fought,
Cool.
what games it was in, and all
Cool.
that shit. So that when the brain does stop working, I can fucking look back and go, oh yeah,
That's awesome.
that was that guy. It was that.
Smart idea. Yeah, that's
Uh,
cool. Cause yeah, I missed that, man. You could go and you could look up any guy and you could. It was great for a guy like me because I could just study everybody. It was so easy, man. I would go. When I was a teenager, I'd go on there and I'd be watching fights from the Quebec League, and I would just be like, okay, I'd pick one fighter, I'd study him for a week, I'd practice his style, and then I'd pick another fighter the next week, practice his style, and then I'd try it, and I'd just try it in a fight, and be like, oh, that didn't work, or that did work, and back to Drop Your Gloves. Let's find a new style.
So, gone. Mark, sorry.
Yeah, was there a particular fight or anything that you looked up to, or did you just find your own way and your own style?
Man, honestly, I've said it so many times. I've had some really good like mentors over the years and like people like almost fighting coaches that have stepped up, and they may not feel like they played a big part in teaching me, but I really picked up a lot from a very few fight sessions with experienced guys. Brandon Smith's brother, or is it Brendan Smith, plays in the NHL?
Yeah.
I think it's Brendan Smith. His brother, Rory Smith, he was a lacrosse player, box lacrosse player. He was like the toughest guy in the National Lacrosse League. I played for the junior team. He played for the senior team at the time. He taught me some stuff. Awesome. He told me what fighters to study. He started emailing me when I was playing my first year pro hockey because he was a hockey player too. He said, study this guy, study that guy. So Rory Smith, I love the way he fought because he forced guys to switch. He would switch. He would cross grab. So his style, I find my style is very similar to his. Not afraid to switch, but switching with intent, not switching. I feel like a lot of guys just switch to switch, they're like, okay, I'll just switch the other side. Like I switch when it's time to switch, like if I need to, or if I can't get inside or whatever. But yeah, I learned a lot from him. And then Scott Parker taught me a lot. So, and Scott Parker has some good grappling tricks, and he got me throwing to the body and stuff like that, which I didn't really do. I still don't do it a ton, but I definitely keep it in my back pocket if I get in a sticky situation.
Do you remember the first time you got? Do you remember the first time you got hit in the body in a hockey fight?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I
remember exactly. I
did not see it coming at all.
Yeah, it was Corey Fulton. I don't know if you know who that guy is.
No.
But Corey Fulton. You should look that guy up. So I fought him. Where were we? Must have been in Mississippi or something. It was somewhere down south. And he hit me with a body shot, and I felt it for like 3 weeks. And I was like, oh man, that sucked. Like it was brutal. It's like, that's terrible. I'd way rather be hitting the jaw.
Yeah, mine was the Daniel Croft. And I remember getting the penalty box, and it was in Swindon. And the penalty box is like right next to each other. It's just got like one sheet of plexi, but you can just like lean around and chat. I was like, fuck, so we're punching in the body now, eh? Because I was like,
oh yeah.
You got me good, man. Like you got me real fucking good. I did not see it coming one bit. After that, I was like, oh, like we need to start going to the body here because that was effective.
It's really good if you're getting strung out by a really big guy. Like if you're having trouble getting in and you're like, because sometimes it's scary to switch. Like if you got a really big, strong guy, and he's stringing you out and he's kind of just waiting to throw a hard. If he throws good punches then switching left can be obviously dangerous because you're going to go power to power. But like, if you want to get in tight, you can throw a body shot and his elbow is going to bend. He'll come into you, and then you got a chance to grapple. Then you get a chance to get your arm under, get him in tight. So there's ways to use it. And I think like, I don't like, it's not the first thing I'm throwing, but when I need it, I'm using it. When I need it, I'm using it for sure.
So let's go to your ECHL debut. You're in Rent-A-Cop. Is it Rent-A-Cop?
Rent-A-Cop, yeah.
Rent-A-Cop. He's a big boy. You boys have a nice little square off. Great tilt. One quick question before we start getting into the tilt. Is it an extra penalty or a sussy or something if you boys take the buckets off nowadays? I know
it's an extra 2 minutes. So it's like I would do it probably every time because like, you know, I just
save the hands.
Like, I value my hands. Yeah. But I don't think a lot of guys don't like doing it. And it's another 2 minutes in the box. Like you're already sitting there for 5. You know, I think there's a time and a place for it. I wish we didn't have to wear visors. Would be the best solution possible. The best solution possible would be no visors, because then you wouldn't have to worry about guys taking their helmets off, and you know you can have a tight chin strap, and you know that's the safest way to fight for sure. 100%. But it sucks. But at the same time, you know, I get it. You know, I get why guys don't want to do it. Yeah, it is what it is, man. I think there'll be certain guys that do, certain guys that are willing to, but I think time and a place, you know, it's like in the Fed, we're doing it every time. There's no extra penalty. It's like every single time guys are taking their helmets off. A couple guys don't like it. That's fine. But it's hard on the hands, man, especially when you're doing it lots.
That's the worst part. I think I was lucky. I kind of grew up in an era, unless it was a fight in the play. If you squared up, generally everybody took their helmet off.
Yeah. Well, another thing too, people don't even think about is when the visors cut you bad. Like, oh my God, like people don't realize, like I've gotten cuts over my lip, over my nose, over my eyebrow, and it's from the visor. It's never like a clean punch. It's like the visor hits you. You're like, wow, how did I get this big cut? It's the visor. And that's another thing. You're not just saving your hands, you're saving, you know, your face too, because those visors will slice you wide open.
Alan Lack broke my nose in Peterborough. I remember he hit me and like we're throwing, and my helmet came down this way, and my visor's there, and he just punches the visor straight into my nose. And that was one of those ones where I skate to the box and I'm laughing. I was like, fuck, I've got blood everywhere. Like he got me good. Shorter guy as well. Funnily enough, those short guys, man, little fucking battle smurf, punched me straight on the nose. And I would much rather have not had my helmet on for that.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%. That's the thing with the helmets. You know, like I said, it would be much better if we could just go without the visors, but probably won't be long before guys are wearing cages.
Right, that's it. If Hockey Goes Cages podcast done, I'm done. I'm just gonna go watch something else. I'll just stick to watching MMA and boxing. Do you know what I loved as well before coming into this fight? You know, you're always going to get the haters, probably the guys, the away teams from the Fed. Oh yeah, he's going to do fuck all in this league. He's going up there. What the fuck's this guy going to do up there? I'm reading all this. You're getting chirped left, right, and center. And then talk us through that first tilt.
Yeah, man. I mean, at the end of the day, like I literally I didn't know I was going to be able to hit a guy like that first shift, but I was like, I'm going to rock somebody I'm going to get a piece of somebody first shift. And then I did. And, you know, Rent-A-Cop I already talked to him in warm-ups, and he said, yeah, I'll give you one, you know, we'll go. Like he basically already had agreed to fight, and he's their captain. He's a tough kid. He played in the Western League, I believe, BC. And yeah, man, he's a tough kid. He's big. And I mean, hats off to him, man. Hats off to him. Honestly, he's a big, strong kid, and you know he's done really well, and he's a good player too. So,
to be wearing the C and the coach, got to be doing something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but the fight couldn't have went any better for you. Obviously, started off well with the right, and you switched to the left, sir. You know, he went down, he got back up, you put him down again. Is that kind of put you on the radar for sure for some of the other guys that maybe didn't know too much about your fighting style? They got a bit of game tape now. Do you think maybe some guys might be a little bit wary about dropping them, or do you think you're going to get quite a few challenges?
I think guys I think at this level, the guys that'll do it are they'll do it. I don't think they care. I don't think, you know, if you're at this level, I mean, guys might be a little more hesitant. They might not feel great about it, but I feel like the guys that do it, they'll do it when, you know, if they have to. Anyways, if I'm hitting guys like I hit that game, someone's gonna have to. So I mean, at the end of the day, I think the guys that in this league that are doing it, they're gonna do it if they need to. And you know, I think we've all been in those situations where there's, you know, a guy like me in the league that, you know, at the end of the day, I'll go with anybody. I'm not there to I'm not just trying to sit on the bench and fight. Like, I want to get energy going. I want to make hits. I want to make plays, and I want to contribute. And, you know, I think that'll all come more and more as time goes on. I didn't play for like 2 months here. So, you know, I'm just kind of starting to get things going again. So, yeah, I think there'll be more, I'm sure. And, you know, we're pretty much in divisional games for the rest of the season now. So probably be seeing the same teams over and over.
And then you get to go into the playoffs, which is going to take it up a notch again. How exciting is it to be like in the coast? Obviously, you've played minor pro to a lower level, but East Coast, the best league in America. You must be pumped.
Yeah, so like I played my last year before I retired was 2014. I played in the Central League.
CHL,
and they merged with the ECHL that year,
or
the year after.
Okay.
So I played in the CHL for the last year, the CHL.
Got you.
I played in the CHL during the NHL lockout, so like that year was really good.
Was that Chelios and Hatcher and those boys?
I know. I think they were
in the U-Haul. Yeah,
they were in the U-Haul. Yeah, but yeah, no, that was the lockout before too. I think that was the 05 lockout. I was playing in the Central in the 2012 lockout,
Yeah.
I want to say.
Got you here, yeah.
Yeah, so I played against like Alex Martinez, like right after he won the Stanley Cup,
Nice.
which was kind of cool. Yeah. And but yeah, so it's been a long time, you know, like to get back to this level, it's really special to me. And it's, you know, it's always been something like, man, I wish I played in the coast, because nobody knows what the Central League is, you know. So I always said, man, it'd be sure nice to get some coast games on my resume, and now here I am. And I honestly think I got lots of steam left. You know, we'll see how it goes, but I think I have a handful of seasons left, man. Like, I'm not in any rush to retire. I want to make something of this, and it's kind of my second kick at the can with pro hockey. So I'm gonna do something with it. And yeah, I'm really happy to be here in Fort Wayne. It's such a great city, great blue collar, like just my kind of town, you know, like everybody loves the tough stuff. And it's just, yeah, it's a really good town, really good organization. They take really good care of us and stuff. So it's really refreshing being here. So
why did you take all that time out initially?
I just went back, and I had some family stuff to sort out. And when I went back, I just started playing lacrosse, and that's just what it was. I was just kind of comfortable, had a job. Like, you know, you got to grow up sometime. That's kind of what you're always told. You got to get a job and do this. And, you know, I kind of fell in the rat race. And then honestly, man, I got to a point in my life where I'm like, well, okay, yeah, I have this great job, but like, it was just getting to the point where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, cost of living is so expensive, especially in Vancouver too, where I was living. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, man, I'm not even like, at the end of the month, I'm like, I'm not even getting really anywhere. Like, I have a great job, made good money, but like, I'm not where I should be for as much work as I'm putting in. And that was when the conversation started happening about hockey. And then I just said, forget it. Let's do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to come out of retirement, and I'm not doing it half-ass. And that's kind of what I've planned on doing. I'm just, you know, obviously the social media and stuff like that's a big part of it. And yeah, man, just trying to really just build the brand and you know, build together with AJ and see how far I can take it.
So are you going to make your own fight schools, like some hockey fight schools in summer? Are you going to collab with AJ there? I think that'd be pretty cool for guys to learn from you.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I would also love to do like team stuff, like, you know what I mean? Like, go see a junior team, work at a practice with junior guys or whatever. Whether I'd be able to do it with an actual team, probably not. Just this day and age, someone's mom would probably complain to the league or something. But like, I mean, I've taught a lot of kids, the ECHL guys, you know, Western League guys and BCHL guys and stuff like that. I've worked with a lot of like good skilled players. And you know, I always tell their parents, like, I'm not turning your kid into a fighter. I'm just putting a gun on his hip. He might be a skilled player, but let's put a gun on his hip. You know, well, you're going to feel more comfortable. You're going to play better. You're going to play stronger and bigger. And so it's a huge skill to have, especially in today's game, because just having the gun on your hip, whether other people know it or not, you know it, and it makes you play a little bit more loose. You don't have to look over your shoulder when you got a guy running around and stuff. You know, you can handle business if you have to handle business. So I suggest learning how to fight to everybody, whether you're an athlete or not. It's going to help your confidence. It's going to help you at work. It's going to help you in whatever sports you play. You're going to be more confident socially. Like, it's just such a huge thing to add to somebody, you know, anybody.
So I had a conversation with a client this morning, and our prime minister's named Rishi Sunak. I was like, how can he lead a country? If he got locked in a room with me in a one-on-one scenario, he's fucked.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
he's fucked.
exactly.
How can he lead anything? Like,
Yeah.
how can I trust a guy that he wouldn't be able to get out of the room? I
Yeah,
can't trust that guy to do shit.
Can't fight his way out of a wet paper bag.
Like, do you know what I mean though, Mark? Like, how can you trust a guy that can't fucking throw some
Right,
knuckles?
let alone like you're running a country. Like, you're supposed to be like a powerful, like,
Putin
you
would
know?
kick him up and down the fucking room, man. Like,
Yeah. Dude, no kidding, man. Well, I'm sure a lot of world leaders would.
yeah,
I just want to say no comments on the government, because actually when we first spoke, Dan, I got banned for life from Facebook.
Oh, that's right. You
Yeah.
got kicked off. Where'd you get kicked off?
So I'm not Facebook, and that's why I'm not making any political comments anymore. So
That's
I'm done. I'm not
hilarious.
getting kicked off anything
Oh yeah,
else.
I've been down that road. I just bite my tongue now.
Yeah, it is wild, and that's another thing that you are on the social media platforms. You got some good numbers going there. Do
Yeah.
you find it like a good thing to be a part of? Do you enjoy it? And like, do you think it's like helped with the hockey side of things? Obviously, you've been Danbury, and now you know you're in Fort Wayne. It's all over social media. Danbury are great at resharing stuff. AJ's all over the socials. Do you love that?
It's fun, man. Like, honestly, there's the negative side of it that is kind of inevitable, of you're gonna get a million haters, which is like, I could definitely do without that. Everybody could, but it just is what it is, and it's kind of like just a side effect of it. But man, it's awesome, like, to have the support that I do. And you know, I get messages all the time from people, and like, at the end of the day, man, like, this is a comeback for me, and I want people to my whole goal and what I'm doing is I want to prove to people that, like, you can do this. Like, you can go from, you know, like, I had a real tough time when I didn't have hockey anymore. I was sad, dude. I missed the game. I didn't touch the ice for 5 years because I was just like depressed and just in a bad spot mentally, man. Like, I went through it, you know, and that is a big reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now. Like, and yeah, I'm in my 30s, and yeah, I might be too old or whatever anybody wants to say, but I'm proving to everybody you can do it. What everybody, you know how many people I had say, you can't do this, you can't move there, you can't go there, you can't play hockey again, you're too old, your body won't let you. And I'm like, oh yeah, watch this. And now here I am doing it, and that's why I'm doing it. I want everybody to just watch, and at the end of the day, once I'm done and I retire, I'll really share the whole story, and people get to really, you know, pick up the whole story and realize, like, oh man, like, because I did come from a dark place, man. Like, I was struggling, and like I said, I missed the game, and now that I'm full circle, coming and doing it again, I get to really enjoy every moment, you know, just the conversations on the back of the bus, and just, you know, just the BSing in practice and the having fun at practice and stuff like that. Like, I really get to be present now and enjoy that. Where when I was younger, like, the first kick at the can, I didn't even really know how special it was. So
Yeah, then you don't touch the ice for 5 years. Who's the guy that got you back on the ice for the first time after 5 years?
yeah, so I had a bunch of buddies that had like a beer league team, and it was like it was a good, decent hockey, but it was like, you know, they were just having beers, hanging out, and they're trying to, come to a game, And I went and watched the game and had some beers with them, and then they kind of sucked me in. They're like, oh, come play a game. I'm like, oh man, I'll dig my gear out, and I played a game, and I was like, oh, this is. I really actually didn't really enjoy it the first time, like the first season. I don't even think I was really enjoying it that much. I was more enjoying just being around the boys. Like, the dressing room after, I would hang out there for hours. I'd be the last guy to get my gear off, you know. But I remember there was one game we played, and I think it was playoffs, and there was a couple other of our buddies that came and played, and some good players. And I remember we had a couple, like, we were just buzzing, and we were just like cycling the puck, just setting up big, good plays off the cycle and stuff. And it was so much fun. I remember specifically this one game. I'm like, I think I want to play hockey again. Like, I want to play like real hockey. This is beer league, but like, I want to play like real hockey again. And, this is, not that long ago, maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So last year would have been my first season out of retirement. The season before that, I ended up playing my first full check game since I retired, which was like a senior hockey team in Powell River, the Powell River Eagles. And so really it started out with Prestige. Prestige Worldwide was the beer league team. That was the name. And
what
great
the
group
unis
of
like?
guys. Oh, I'll send you a picture after. They had boats and hose.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, I'll send you a
fucking
picture.
I love some of the beer league jerseys and team names and shit. So much fun.
Yeah, so it was awesome. We had a really good group, and I'm still in the group chat with all these guys. Like I don't think they're playing anymore, but like we're still in a group chat. We're still boys for life, and I give those guys 100% of the credit for getting me back into the game, because it really was them, man. And like I was still sad, like I was still like depressed, and I still didn't want to leave the house. And these guys really just dragged me out, picked me up and dragged me to the rink, and they got me, I think they knew if they got me into the dressing room a couple times, they'd eventually get me on the ice. And then that's kind of what happened, man. So shout out to Prestige Worldwide, and I'm here now because of them. So
that's epic. I fucking love
Yeah,
that. Love
awesome.
that story. What a great story. Shout out to you. Shout out to you boys for making it happen. Let's talk about, you make the decision. The boys, you're done with Prestige Worldwide, and you want to take the big bad step into the world again. You land in Danbury, and I don't think there could have been a better place suited on the entire fucking planet for you to land and you're coming out of retirement.
True.
Than Danbury. Like,
yeah,
it's just match made in heaven. Talk us through that first year there.
Well, it's crazy because like I seen like the Trashers documentary like well before I met AJ. So like I had seen that and I'm like, oh my God, like this place is crazy. I wish I played there, And then come full circle, like a year or two later, all of a sudden I'm talking to AJ, and then AJ is really the one that convinced me to come to Danbury. He was the mastermind behind it.
Of course he was.
Yeah. He was like, come on, man, it'll be good. Like, we'll do this, we'll do that. And, he had like he has his boxing gym, obviously. And then he had like an actual like strength and conditioning side. You can train people there and make some extra money. I'm like, it just kept getting better and better. I'm like, all right. And then we're just talking. And then, finally it came to the point where I'm like, you know what? Like I start crunching the numbers and I'm like, honestly, like, I think we're going to be all right. Like I can pull this off. Like financially, once it got to a point where I was like in the same place at the end of every month as I was back home working on the tugboats, I was like, all right, how could I say no? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I'm going to be at the same place at the end of every month, and I'll have more time, for my family and stuff like that. So we said, let's go on an adventure, and moved across the country. And it was great to be able to do it in Danbury, because obviously AJ was there, and we had lots of support and stuff like that, just having like a family away from our family kind of thing. And the team and stuff like that was great. All the boys and everybody kind of, stepped up and really made it like an easy transition for us. But yeah, it was crazy. Like if you would have talked to me like 3 years ago and just said like, oh yeah, you're going to be in the States, in the ECHL, playing pro in the same arena you played in 12 years ago. Cause I was just in Wichita playing against my old coach that coached me in Tulsa. And it was just such a surreal experience. I'm like, man, I never, ever imagined myself coming back to this place ever again. Like, why would I ever be back in Wichita, and let alone playing in the same arena against my old coach? It's crazy, man. Like crazy.
GM AJ strikes again.
Yeah. He's always the mastermind. He's always got something going on.
Like, obviously, we've interviewed AJ a couple of times. Great guy. Shoot shit with him very often. Imagine getting a fucking ice hockey team at 17. I would have done exactly the same team. I just had fucking 5 of the toughest human beings going, and AJ lived out the dream.
That's like so much. Like I just think about that. Like sometimes I'll ask AJ questions with just me and him too. And like, man, like I couldn't even imagine that, because it's like a video game, but real life. It's like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like every kid's dream, literally every kid's dream. I'm gonna like build my own team. Not to mention, I don't think he had any limitation on who he could bring.
No,
You know, there's nothing really stopping him from bringing in whoever he wanted.
like he had some serious guys there, and
Yeah.
well, like imagine just coming into school and be like, "Yo, boys, I just signed John Morasti."
Yeah.
Like,
Crazy.
okay,
Yeah.
you boys would be like, "What the fuck? This is
That's
sick!" Like,
so bizarre, man. Yeah. That's so crazy to think about, man. Like what I was doing at 17. And like that's another thing that's also very impressive is like he did a good job.
yeah,
Like they almost won the whole thing. Like that's crazy to think like he's 17 years old and he built a legit team too. It wasn't like he just built some tough team and they were just like, oh yeah, like they went to the finals. Like they were a legit hockey team in a legit league, you know?
well, a big part of that was we talked to AJ about David Alexander Beauregard, the goal scorer with one eye.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
played
yeah.
over him, and one of the best
Yeah.
hockey players I've ever played against. Absolutely filthy.
I played with him in Tulsa in the
Okay.
Central League. Yeah, he was on my team.
Snipe.
Yeah, which is also crazy. Yeah, he's a crazy, crazy story, man. He's got one eye. He's better than everybody. Like,
Yeah,
he's
everybody.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's crazy, crazy, man.
The craziest part of his story is the fact that like when he loses his eye on the stick lift there, he still tucks. Like he doesn't miss.
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah, poor guy for
Yeah,
like, you know, I can only imagine what he would have been able to be with both eyes because he was a very talented player. And to, you know, I think he played left wing because I can't remember what eye he had, but I remember he had to stay on the one wing. So his eye that he had was towards the middle of the ice.
And
Which is crazy.
He might have had 50 the year he played with Tony Handmark.
That's nuts.
Yeah, like just ripping it and
mad.
How have you ever been interested in maybe potentially coming over to the UK and playing your trade?
Dude, it's funny because like last year I have an agent that's like got some good hooks and stuff out there. And last year I poked around, man. I think I was too late to the party though, because they start early out there.
Yeah.
And then they have the import thing and stuff like that. So I was a little late to the party, I think. And also too, like coming out of retirement, didn't really have a resume. But last year I was looking into it, like at the beginning of the year. But yeah, like I said, I didn't really have the resume, but it would be somewhere that'd probably be the only place over the water that I would consider going to, just because obviously everybody speaks English and stuff like that, which is important to me.
But not everybody.
Well, you know what I mean. But yeah, it's probably a lot like Canada. But like I just, you know, I got young kids and stuff like that. I wouldn't want to put them in a situation where they can't communicate and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I would definitely probably consider coming out there, and I'd love to, man. That was always somewhere I wanted to end up and play a season and kind of experience. But we'll see, man.
Imagine him in Belfast, Mark. The fans would love it, mate. Honestly.
Oh yeah.
Like.
Oh yeah. Right now.
There'd be so many of your jerseys like in the stands, and the UK fans, like we've always had tough guys here. Like
yeah, we love fights.
Yeah,
we love fights in the UK. It's maybe now is like the least amount ever, but like
that's Dyson, all hockey though. It's not just there.
Exactly. You know? Dyson Stevenson put a beat down on one of the Nottingham boys, Lemmy, this week. He hit him with like 3 or 4 on the button.
I think I've seen that actually.
Clean, yeah.
Mean on the button. Fair play to the kid. I don't think he's a tough guy, but I don't know. Again, we could talk to not having dropyourgloves.com. Hey, if dropyourgloves.com, he might not eat 4 rights in a row there because he would have checked the game tape before.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mismatch. Yeah,
exactly.
But we talked about it before. There's no weight classes. Like if you're going to drop your gloves in front of somebody, then hey,
it is what it is.
You gotta be prepared.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you'd be loved over here. It's definitely something. I think you do this coasting for a bit, and then you know if that opportunity arises, especially one of the big cities, one of the big arena teams, and not only that, like the Elite League. There's so many sick cities to live in. You could live in Cardiff, Belfast, Glasgow. So you got like Manchester. There's so many cool cities to live in. Like, so even like the hockey, the hockey's great, but you know, for your family to experience it and to experience it, I think you'd love it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Like I said, I've always kind of had it in the back of my mind, whether it's something we could pull off or not. Like it's it's hard to bounce around too much, but like I'm man, I don't know, you guys, I just moved my family across the country to come out of retirement in my 30s, so I've done crazy It's definitely not outside of my realm or outside of the decisions that could happen. So
Well, we know a lot of the people in the UK are going to be listening to this right now, including players, owners, GMs, and all sorts of shit.
Right
So
on.
maybe that email goes off at the end of the year here.
There you go.
Let's talk about the reason you ended up in the coast, and obviously we're going to get into the podcast in a minute. But if you want to watch the Talkin Trash podcast, Daniel and AJ have a really great discussion on his ban in the Fed. I really enjoyed that discussion. I thought actually you were super chilled, bro. You were super chilled.
Yeah.
Like I thought you handled that very well because
I was sitting on my hands.
I thought you handled it fantastic, but
Yeah.
you get this asshat of a ban, suspended indefinitely, banned out of the league with like little more than like a 3-word statement or some shit on their website. Nothing really official to you. Talk us through just that whole experience.
Well, they just kept it really vague to save their own ass. I think they just didn't want to get too detailed because, if I got lawyers or whatever, I think that they could have jammed themselves up if they said too much about what. They were just, keeping it very light. That's why they didn't respond to my email. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. Everything happens for a reason. And at the, I had outgrown the league and I just, I needed to be in a bigger league, bigger, stronger, better run. I've got a bigger platform. Like it was time for me to leave that league. So it was great that it happened. And the way it did was perfect. And the timing was perfect, but it was like, yeah, it was just the way that it was handled. I feel like they really just made themselves look bad, not just with that. There was a few things that happened since that happened. It's just been one thing after another. And, just kind of bad look after bad look. But for me, it's like, it's a blessing because at the end of the day, it got me where I needed to be. And I was comfortable in Danbury. I had a few coach teams call me last year, a few teams called me again this year. And I was comfortable in Danbury, it was nice there. I was settled in. AJ was there. We were doing the podcast. But at the end of the day, I knew I was supposed to move. I'm supposed to move up. I'm supposed to continue, but I was a little comfortable. So sometimes I feel like the world will do that to you. If you don't make the move on your own, then sometimes it'll make the move for you. So it just seemed to work out that way.
We talked a little bit about off air. You had a couple of previous suspensions, nothing as severe as a lifetime ban. Yeah, again, no communication from the league. Like no one.
Yeah, the thing is that's crazy. Like before I played in the Federal League, I never had more than a 5-game suspension. That was the biggest suspension I ever had, was 5 games. And 5-game suspension was a league review. Like you get a meeting with the league. They'd say, hey, this is what you did wrong. This is what you need to do to be better or whatever, like a regular league would do, like just regular standard communication. This league was throwing the book at me since my first game and never did I have a single league meeting. So the first suspension I got was game 1 and it was a clean hit right in front of the ref. After the game, I talked to the ref and I said, hey, was that hit all right? And he's like, yeah, clean as a whistle, no problem, you'll be fine. Like there was not even a penalty on the play. And then they ended up giving me a suspension because they said, because we were winning the game and there was only 8 seconds left. So they suspended me a game, even though it was a clean hit. Like, yeah, you can't lay a guy out with 8 seconds left in the game.
Yeah, you can.
Like, okay, I don't care what the score is. I play between the whistles. I literally don't give a shit what the score is. I'm playing hard till that buzzer goes.
Otherwise, the game would be fucking 59 minutes, 52 seconds. Like,
yeah, exactly. So anyways, so I got a 1-game suspension, and I was kind of like, okay, that's a joke, but whatever. Come back, my second game in the league now. This is last year. It was the big hit at center ice, and the guy did a backhand spinorama in the neutral zone while I was back checking. I coasted the whole way. Like there was no extra strides, no charge. Shoulder, it was like clean contact. And then if that hit, I think they said that it was a blindside or something, or like he didn't see me coming. And I didn't make a play for the puck. So I'm like, okay,
sounds
all right,
like
whatever. I guess I don't know the rules now because I'm coming out of a time machine from 10 years ago when you're allowed to hit guys. So I was like, all right, okay, whatever. They gave me an 8-game suspension for that. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty crazy. So game 2, I get an 8-game suspension. And then from then on, I didn't get any, they gave me intent to injure, I think, on that one, which is crazy because it's like, it was a hard hit, but they're like, oh yeah, you were looking for him. Like he's the best player in the league. Like dude, it was my second game in the league. I didn't even know who this guy was. I didn't even care. Like, I don't know who anybody in the Federal League is. So it's like, and for me to be like, oh, I'm going to go get this guy next shift, and then he does a spinorama in the neutral zone, that'd be like winning the lottery. So, so they gave me 8-game suspension, basically saying I went out there looking for him, which is crazy. So I was like, all right, whatever, soak that. And then played like most of the season. And then one game we're playing Delaware. I laid a clean hit, like super clean check, no penalty. And their fighter came to jump me, and I had a broken hand at the time. Like, I'm not even gonna fight this guy. Like, it was a clean hit. I'm so sick of fighting every clean hit. Like, forget this. So I just didn't drop my gloves. I'm like, whatever, let's take a power play. And he just beats, like, just takes me out, like hits me a few times and then gets me on my back, and he full mounts me. And I just soaked it. Didn't drop my gloves. I'm like, I don't care, whatever. It was a clean hit. Let's take the power play. And the ref gave me 5. So it was even. Both got 5. I didn't even drop my gloves. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I was like looking at the ref. I'm like, is that like, that's what we're allowed to just jump guys? And it's like both fighting. And I was like super pissed because I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You're going to do that to me? I was like, okay, so I can just go punch a guy in the face and we're both going to get fighting majors. Got it. No worries. So then next period I come out and I can't even remember what happened, but I come up to this guy and I punched him with my glove on, like literally with my glove on. I didn't drop my glove or nothing. Just gave him a shot. And then their tough guy jumped me again, same guy. And now this time I dropped my gloves. And the kid that I fought, I broke his orbital bone. Clean punch, left hand, like nice. It wasn't even that hard of a punch, just well placed, and it broke his orbital bone. And they gave me a 13-game suspension. And they said that I'm dangerous. They said that I'm dangerous.
What?
The league. And they said I'm dangerous. It was a punch in a fight.
So did he get anything considering he jumped you to start the fight?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No, nothing.
What?
Literally nothing.
So then I got so that was then now I've gotten 1 gamer, an 8-gamer, and now a 13-gamer. So, and that was my last suspension. Didn't get anything for that. Was like a year. That was, I think, last Christmas. So it was almost a year. I went no suspensions, nothing, or no intent to injure, I guess, suspensions. And then they come full circle. I get this one, and they've reverted back to that suspension. Oh, at 13 games. That was the last one. So now we got to add 50%, which makes 18 games. That's how they got the 18-game suspension. And then they decided I served 15 games or 14 games, and I sat around. I could have left to the coast. I was talking to coast teams the whole time. I could have just left to the coast if I knew I was suspended indefinitely. But they let me serve 14-game suspension, and then they changed their mind and said, you know what? Actually, he's suspended indefinitely. So that was like a big beat. Like, that was a big fuck you to me and my family, and I won't ever forget that, ever. But it's crazy that they did that, and it's the disrespect that they did that. You know, it's really makes me upset. You know, but I'm not gonna stoop to their level, and you know, I'm gonna be a man about it, and you know, I'll talk about it the way you guys heard me talk about it. I'm not gonna say anything bad. I don't need to drag them through the mud too much. They're dragging themselves through the mud. So it's bullshit, but it is what it is, man. On to a real league where that won't happen. I've already had a meeting with the league. I've talked to the people in the East Coast, and they told they told me what they expect of me. I told them what I want. Like, at the end of the day, this is a real league. I want to help them build their brand the way they want to build their brand. I don't want to make the league look bad. So at the end of the day, that's what it is. The Federal League's not like that. Nobody respects that league, including the guys that play in it, because the league doesn't respect the players. Nobody has insurance in that league. So it's like, how could anybody have any respect for the league? So.
Well, outside of you and our boy, why can't I think of his name? Slang in the Biscuit Pod. Why? Oh, Trav. Sorry. Outside of you and Trav.
Yeah.
No one's heard of the fucking Fed. Like,
yeah, nobody.
No one's heard of the Fed. Like, outside of you boys promoting it.
I know.
Like, it's not a well supported league. The fact that they had you guys, you do have a social media presence. It's putting it out there. You did a lot for the league, in my opinion. But the fact that the East Coast have been quite smart with the way that they shared your fight, I think. With this day and age, if there's 2 tilts in an NHL game and you put YouTube on and you get the 10-minute highlight package, you don't see the tilt.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You don't see the tilt anymore. Like, what is that shit?
Yeah.
You have to hunt for it. Whereas they've kind of went, oh, here's Diamond Hands, and how'd you get the nickname? And they're smart. They've promoted it and
Market it, yeah. I mean, at the
oh,
end of the day, you don't have they do try and hide it a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's like it is something people want to see. It is a part of the game. It's not like we're, yeah, it might be a little savage for some people, but you don't have to watch it. At the end of the day, it's good for marketing.
Yeah, I think it's great for marketing.
Yeah.
The amount of views it has, the talking points, because some people will be pro, some people will be against, but whatever it is in this day and age,
It'll always be that way.
But we have podcasts now, and we have conversations, and everybody's putting their 2 cents in, and it's interesting. And I think it does grow the game, and it's still, there's going to be so many people from our generation that watch that kind of game that are like, thank fuck for this. There's still like the last of the dying breed, and hopefully, as you say, it comes full circle and it doesn't become a dying breed. Hopefully, some of these kids in junior, like Jacques' little brother, that kid's a menace. Like he's a menace. He's gonna do some damage to some guys, but hopefully there's more and it keeps it going full circle.
Yeah, I think it's the only thing is like it's hard to get the reps. Like obviously they've kind of taken like a true heavyweight out of the game, which is whatever. I get that what their intention was with that, but like you're not going to be able to take fighting out of it. The only thing is like you're going to have like you're in a weird spot now where there's guys like me who have had 200 plus fights, and then a heavyweight from, let's say, coming out of junior right now, maybe has had 30 or 40 at the most.
Yeah.
Because I think they're only allowed to fight like 10 times a season or whatever. They all have rules on it now, how many fights you can have. And so that's kind of like the period now we're in where it's like you got guys like me running into guys like that. And it's like kind of this, you've almost done a disservice to these guys because they didn't get enough reps in junior, I came out of junior, I probably had 100 fights already.
Yeah, so you're ready and you've experienced, you've lost, you've been hit with big punches.
Yeah.
You fought early, you fought late, you fought tired, you fought fresh. Whereas some of these guys, it's going to be like first kind of experiences. One thing we can't not talk about is Rough and Rowdy. You do get in the boxing ring, but having watched the fights and talking to you a little bit off it's not boxing, it's a brawl, man. Like it's a full on tilt. You're 2-1 in the Rough and Rowdy ring. Is that something you really enjoy doing?
Yeah, it's fun, man. Those events are great. I was supposed to fight a few weeks ago when I first signed here in Fort Wayne, but I made the decision. I just didn't want, it wasn't worth it to me because I was obviously coming here and last thing I wanted to do, just had a bad feeling about it. I'm like, I'm going to tweak my shoulder or something. Like it was just, this is too good of an opportunity for me to just be messing with it. So I kind of say I'm saving those for the summertime now. But yeah, it's such a fun promotion to be a part of. They have a blast. Yeah, it's really great. So and the fighting style is fun too, because it's like it's just you're going in there, it's like a hockey fight. You're just going in there, put your chin down and get after it. So
you had a loss against the Polish Hammer or whatever they call him.
Yeah.
But then you had the big victory where he fucking knocked the guy clean out through the ropes. I don't think he checked the game tape. And then the other fight, you give the boy a bit of a beat down too. What's next? Because I know going into one of your fights, you had called was it some Bobby Lang? Did you call this guy out?
Yeah, right? Bobby Lang would be one. I think. I mean, at some point, I'm thinking I'll probably end up fighting the Black Italian Stallion. He was 2 out. Yeah, that's who I was supposed to fight at the last one, and I'm sure me and him will fight. But I mean, at the end of the day, man, like I'm just going where, I mean. With what I'm doing and like how I'm growing my social media and stuff like that, I don't know what promotion I'm going to fight in next, but I'm open to anyone. I'm open to whoever, and I'll fight whoever in whatever situation, whether it's bare knuckle or boxing or whatever. So we'll see where it goes, but yeah, man, I definitely intend to continue, and I'd like to get some bigger fights, and I'd like to get, and also get into some pro boxing at some point. Not sure when, but I'd love to do that too. So.
Yeah, we'd love to see you in the pro boxing ring. I think with the training and obviously with being around AJ's gym and getting some reps with some good guys and some pro guys, it's a good opportunity, man. Like, why the fuck not?
Yeah, it's a crazy time. Well, everybody sees it, right? With like the influencers and all the boxing matches now. There's like you can just trip and fall and end up on $1 million fight. Like these days, guys are coming out of the woodworks and fighting, whoever it is. And there's tons of money on the table now with these guys and all these different promotions and stuff like that. So I think everybody sees the value in it, and yeah, boxing is a good sport to be in right now.
Huge sport to be in. Final thing we want to talk about, Mark, unless you got something else, is the Talkin Trash podcast. Obviously, you have a good background with AJ, that being there in Danbury. Just you boys for the first couple of episodes, really enjoyed it, and then you bring on the boss man, Mr. Galante, and
Yeah.
great episode. Love that. How was it sitting down with Jimmy and shooting shit?
It's fun. I always enjoy being around him. He's just such a genuine, authentic person, like he's straightforward, and he's somebody I look up to, like I like being around him, whether it's like, we were with him at Easter dinner, and sometimes we'll go over to his house and stuff, and just being around him, he's just somebody to look up to, I really watch him and kind of try and pick up as much as I can from his character and stuff, because he's a true man, and he's a good person, and he's got a big heart, and he takes care of the people that he loves, and those are all things that mean a lot to me, and that's something that that's my character on and off the ice, and yeah, he's a good dude. It's really fun to just be able to just sit in the studio, just me, him, and AJ though, and just have time with just us, no distractions, and just shooting the shit. It was a blast. So
what's next for the Talkin Trash podcast? I saw AJ had put a little post out today. He put the bat signal out, looking for looking for somewhere in Fort Wayne to start recording. Is he going to make the trip across the country? You boys going to smash a couple of episodes out?
So I think he's trying to figure it out right now when he can make it out here and stuff like that. And we're going to do some more recordings, and I'll probably go back there and record too. So we're going to keep it going, man. We got some good steam now going, and yeah, we definitely don't want to, we got to keep the momentum rolling. And obviously it's been a little bit hard here in the last couple of weeks because everything's new, and I was just in the middle of moving and stuff. But now we're settled in and stuff like that. So
love it, because it's always great to have podcasts, especially with people
that,
are very like-minded with ourselves, and they enjoy the same sort of stuff as us. And I'm all for it. AJ, when he's been on here, he's a great guest. He can tell stories, man. That boy can tell stories for fun, and I think you boys have a really good chemistry off each other. You bounce off each other very well, and it's going to be big, man. I think it's going to be a big podcast. You got any special guests lined up that you're looking forward to sitting down with?
We have some guys in our back pockets, like NHL Tough Guys obviously is going to be like one of our main gigs, so we got some guys, like some big hockey fighters, and then we got some boxers and football guys. Like we got some big stuff planned, but we want to make sure we're calculated. We did just do me and him. We did that basically until we got all our pages ironed out and monetized. Everything's good now, and now we're starting to bring in guests and stuff like that. So we're learning too. So as we're going, I feel like it was good for us to learn, like just me and him to start and figure it out and like find our groove, and there was good episodes, there was episodes that weren't so good, and we picked up what we okay, maybe this, maybe less time on this, more time on this. And yeah, I think we're now starting to get to the point now where we can really start to bring in guests. AJ alone, he's got all the connections and stuff. He knows tons of people. And then I happen to know like quite a bit of people, obviously the hockey players and stuff like that too, and stuff like that. And I'm pretty outgoing myself. So I would just go, I don't even mind just messaging people. I've talked to a bunch of people on Instagram and stuff. And yeah, I think like we don't want to go too hard too early. But we're going to kind of just slowly ramp up and kind of work on, obviously Jimmy had to be our first guest. He's the rock star. Yeah. He's the man. We had to do Jimmy first. That was like, we didn't even need to say it, because we were talking about who's first. It was like, I was like, well, obviously your old man. He's like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, yeah. So, but I'm excited, man. Like, yeah, we got some big guests in the works, and I think you guys could probably guess. You think about the biggest, baddest hockey fighters, and we'll probably get them all. So,
who have we had? We had Cam Jansen was a good. We had Cam. He was always good to talk to.
Rosehill was a good one.
Todd Fedora, Jay Rosehill, and like these are the guys when everybody was still going like nonstop.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting to hear their perspective. Dan Carcillo, we had him on. That was quite interesting as well. Just that, like everyone's different takes on getting ready to fight, and like listening to Todd Fedoruk talk about his fight with Bugard that smashed his face. you're just like, whoa, like it was fucking real, like really real. Like when you hear him talk about that and the pain he went through and everything that came on the back of that, like getting to hear these guys' stories. Everybody should hear these guys' stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and it's not like it's just one mold, you know, like everybody's so different, you know, some guys fight a lot of fear. Some guys don't. Some guys get excited. Some guys hate it. You know, there's all different sorts of people that are doing it. You know, like I said, there's guys that are just doing it because they absolutely have to. There's guys that are passionate about it, and then there's guys that are just like, man, I'm tough, so it is what it is. I'm tough, and I did it, and now here I am, kind of stuck.
You know, I can't believe I forgot his name off the list because he's arguably the toughest of them all. Big Steve McIntyre. When we recorded with him, like he was on his way to like a fucking
Rodeo.
cowboy rodeo shit. Him and all the boys were in like the back of the pickup. They've all got their hats on, and you're just like, yeah, that's just a tough fucking human being right there.
Big, tough cowboy. Yeah, just a farm boy.
Absolute farm boy, and you know, just get into here, and then he goes to the show, and he's legit when he was there, one of the toughest human beings going.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's a big boy, man.
It's so much fun. Mark, do you have anything else for Daniel?
Just one question because I'm going to forget, and it's actually from our boy Chris out in Brno. He wanted to ask, was there a particular player in hockey that used to get under your skin? Was there one particular player?
Great question.
So when I played in the SP like a long time ago, like I mean, there's a couple guys in the Fed or whatever, but like when I was in the SP, there's a guy named David Siegel. I don't know if you guys know who this is or if you've heard his name or whatever. But we're actually friends now. We talk all the time. It's just how it happens, you know. But this guy, man, he was just I hated him. He's a rat. Anytime me and him would hit each other, it would be an elbow in the head or it'd be a cross check. Like there was never ever a clean check between the two of us. And it was like, and honestly, I think all the refs knew, and they just let us beat the shit out of each other all game. We could get away with murder as long as it was on each other. It was just free game. And man, I hated him, and I would chase him around every game, and yeah, man, I think we fought a few times, and it's funny how it works. So my last game against them, I knew it was my last time playing down there, and it was my last time playing against Siegel, and my team was sponsored by Hooters, so we had Hooters sticks.
Nice.
And Hooters sticks, yeah, like it was whatever brand sticks, and they wrapped them with like Hooters on them, and like the logo and stuff. So he was always like, "Hey, give me one of their sticks." Whoa, whoa. Like even though he's being a rat, I'd fight him, and then we'd be in the penalty box. Like, "Hey, you gonna give me one of those sticks?" Like just messing with me or whatever. So finally, I'm like, it was the end of the season. I was like, I gave it to his equipment manager. I said, "Hey, give this to Siegel." He hounded me all year long, and yeah, he's a rat. Yeah, he elbowed me in the head. Yeah, I hate his guts, but give him this stick. Tell him it's from Ames. And it's funny. I was talking to him the other day, and he brought it up. But yeah, man, that's just I respect him. You know, like he was the biggest rat. I friggin' hated him. I hated his guts. And even after the game, I still hated him. But I respected him, and I was like, you know what, man, I'm gonna give this to him, and he still has it to this day. And we talk all the time. We're buddies now, and there's more than one guy that I've had interactions like that with, and it's a unique sport for stuff like that. You know what I mean? I went to war with him a handful of times, and now we're talking all the time. And I couldn't tell you how many guys I got in my inboxes that I fought. So.
Yeah, I've interviewed a few guys. I say a few guys. I've interviewed about fucking 50 guys on here that back in the day that we got chucked nuts, and that'll be fun for you when you get to be a podcast and you get to do it with the boys and you get to kind of read it. Because some of your fights you might not have thought about for like 10, 15 years, and then the guy comes on and you just start shooting the shit like it was yesterday, and you are your buddies, beers, whatever, like anytime. I do a charity event, me and Mark jump on like charity events and stuff like that. Bang, these are guys are the first ones. Oh, well, yeah, we're in. And they're always the first guys like on the phone, willing to do it, like willing to do anything for charity, willing to do anything for the boys.
That's awesome.
And that's my favorite. Mark, anything else?
No, that was it.
What a great story to finish on. I love it, and I love that you guys are boys now. We wish you all the best in Fort Wayne. Wish you all the best
Yeah.
Thank you.
with the Talkin Trash podcast. And if you're over in the UK eventually in your career, maybe we do this thing in person.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, it'd be super cool to meet you guys in person. But yeah, thank you guys for having me on. It's always fun. And yeah, man, stay in touch. And who knows, maybe I will end up over there.
Yeah, good luck for the rest of the way here. Ladies and gents,
Yeah.
do all the good stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, share. And we will see you again for another episode very, very soon. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you.